thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yes. Good morning, everybody. That's right. We finally made it to Friday. It's Friday, April 11th, the 411 day, Jesse. So we got all the information, you know what I mean? I think you're on mute, Jesse. Today is National Living Donor Day today, you guys. So shout out to all the living donors that have helped provide life for others. It's also National Submarine Day.
Go deep dive.
Deep dive, yes. It's also National Cheese Fondue Day. Okay. National Pet Day.
Oh, that's universal.
Yeah.
I don't have any pets.
Yeah. National 8-track Tape Day.
Oh, yeah.
That's your era, Jason.
That is my era. I remember 8-tracks, but 8-tracks were the best because you could skip them like CDs with songs. You know, you just press 1, 2, or 3, like whichever song you wanted to hear. I never understood why cassettes never had implemented that same technology.
I think because the constant fast forwarding ruined the tape.
Yeah, but like if you would just like, you couldn't skip to the next song. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, because it would stretch the tape out.
Yeah, it's, you know, whatever.
I don't know. I don't even know how them motherfuckers work. You're just seeing them in movies.
I had an 8-track player. I remember that.
So did I, dude.
Yeah.
My dad's truck, cruising in a Ford F-150 in the early 80s.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, bro.
This conversation is telling me so much about both of your boomer behavior.
I mean, call it what you want, bro.
Boomers are, my dad is a boomer.
Yeah, that's telling me a lot.
Call it what you want.
My dad is a boomer. We're millennials.
I am not.
I didn't say you were boomers. I said your boomer behavior.
I'm not a millennial.
For it to be boomer behavior.
I am not a millennial. I'm a Gen Xer, just for the record. The best generation.
Yeah. I'm on the line. I'm the Oregon Trail generation.
Okay, I'm the just so you know, the best generation ever was Generation X. Just in case anyone's wondering out there. But speaking of that, it's also National Barbershop Quartet Day, you guys. Rico, you ever sang in a barbershop quartet? I could totally see you doing that.
No, I go black barbershops, bro. Barbershop quartet.
little doodle, you know what I mean? And it's National Donate Life Blue and Green Day today, you guys.
What is that?
What?
Yes. National
What is that?
Donate Life Blue and Green Day.
That sounds dumb.
What does it mean? What is the background behind it?
Why does donating life sound dumb to you, Jenny Beth?
Blue and green makes it sound dumb. So I think what we need to do is we need to be a little more discerning on not just the things that we say on the show, but also the days that we choose to celebrate on the show.
We're not celebrating any days. We're like we don't.
What does it mean, Jason? Like, what does donate life blue and green?
You wear blue and green to signify donating organs. So it's National Organ Donation Day.
Yes.
So that's the same thing.
Yep.
So what?
And so that's dumb, huh, Jenny?
It's redundant.
It's not redundant. It's not redundant.
It's dumb to not check the meaning of it. Therefore, announce.
I do check the meaning of it, Jenny Beth.
You didn't know what the meaning was, Jason?
I was pulling up my notes for you. You got to give me a second, bro. I'm doing like 30 things over here.
Listen to the excuses. He's pulling up his excuses every time.
Yeah.
It was all part of the plan.
So nice of you all to join us. You know what I mean? It's also National Day of Silence Day today.
Ooh, are you observing that one, Jason?
Jenny Beth didn't get the message, apparently.
Are you going to observe that one, Jason?
No, definitely not. No.
National Day of Silence for what, though? What are we taking? Making it? What are we silent for?
You want me to tell you?
Jason knows. He's Googled it already. Sure.
Give me one second.
We got a super chat already.
That's what I'm talking about right there. Yes. Weird. The National...
What's it say?
Just relax a second. I'm getting to the National Day of Silence. You guys want to know about the National Day of Silence? National Day of Silence is April. Each year is a student-led movement to protest bullying and harassment of lesbian, gay, and bisexual students. So stop bullying, you guys. Stop being such a bully, Jenny.
I'm not a bully.
That's a worthy cause.
Seeing you guys wanted to poo-poo on it. But nonetheless, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And we are kicking it off today with the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte. The daddy who drives around in a caddy, but he's not calling it a caddy while he's smoking a fatty. That's right. It is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
These are getting dumb.
You need a ghostwriter, Jason.
I know. It's all right. It's okay. I come off the cuff. You know what I'm saying? Everything's off the cuff with me.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
Jenny Beth, we've heard enough out of you already today.
Yesterday.
All right, I'll leave.
Bye.
Can I read my story?
Go for it, please.
All right. Yesterday, Todd Denkin covered part 1 of Chris Kasashi of MJ Biz Daily's 2-part series on what the effects of Donald Trump's tariffs would be on the cannabis economy. The first installment was all about supply chain impact, and the key takeaways were that costs are rising for cultivation equipment, packaging, vape hardware, and construction materials like steel, aluminum, and surveillance systems. Companies are responding by seeking domestic suppliers, adjusting procurement terms, and potentially passing on costs to consumers. Vape manufacturers like PAX were especially impacted due to heavy reliance on Chinese components, now subject to cumulative tariffs over 150%. Tariffs on seeds from Europe, specifically Netherlands and Spain, are expected to increase prices by 10 to 20%. And retailers and brands warned that these all added pressures while tightening margins further in an already heavily regulated and competitive market. Kasashi released part 2 this morning, titled How American Cannabis Businesses Are Responding to Trump's Tariffs. Part 2 looks at how U.S. operators are adapting quickly to the unpredictable and sweeping tariff policies that have disrupted the industry's global supply chain and raised operational costs. He says that while many businesses are trying to avoid passing those costs on to consumers, it may be unavoidable in the long run. He then goes on to list the key responses from major industry players from different angles. The first was about relocation of production. Custom Cones USA shifted some packaging production to the U.S. to match costs under the new tariffs and reduce shipping delays. However, core products like pre-rolls are still being made in Indonesia and India with few viable domestic alternatives. When it came to diversifying supply chains, iSpire Technology moved on to moved some of their manufacturing from China to Malaysia and is pivoting to pod-based vape systems to cut down recurring tariff costs. Tallyrand, a logistics firm, is investing in routing technology, automation, and local vendors to manage rising costs and complexity. Some companies are also opening new facilities like Custom Cones again, which plans to open a distribution center in Canada to bypass U.S. tariffs when importing from Asia. And when it comes to absorbing the costs, companies like Dizpot, ZZZ's Collective, and Gelato Canna Company are currently absorbing tariff-related costs to maintain customer trust and stable pricing. All three, however, warned that consumer price hikes are likely if tariffs persist and or escalate. The broader implications of the article were that businesses fear recession impacts and shrinkage in consumer spending. Executives are warning that illicit market may grow, you think, as legal products become more expensive. And some predicted a slow return, if any at all, to manufacturing in the U.S., especially for packaging. Now, the bottom line is that the cannabis industry is being forced to rethink global sourcing, logistics, and pricing strategies in response to Trump's nonsensical tariff war. While many are showing resilience, long-term effects could reshape where and how products are made and how much consumers are going to be paying. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News.
Oh man! So before we get into the discussion on this article, I'm going to get into these super chats real quick, because the C word threw in a super chat that says SF Spacewalk kicks off on Haight Street Art Center April 13th. Historic collection of blacklight posters, glam rock photos, and flower sponsors. And love you guys. So much love. Thank you so much to C-Word. And Miss Anna Lewis, the CEO of Catalyst, says, spread love. 17-year anniversary tomorrow for Elliot and me. Love you guys. I deserve a medal, LOL. Have a great weekend, friends. Well, happy anniversary to Anna and Elliot. Much love. We appreciate everything you guys do and everything you guys do for us here at High 9 News. And thank you so much. Hope you guys have a fantastic weekend out there in the great city of Las Vegas, Nevada. All right, now we're gonna go into tariff talk. All right, what do you guys got to say about this?
I love. This story.
All right, so
I'm super stoked that we're gonna limit crappy Chinese hardware that has tons of heavy metals and is generally spreading poison, especially to our youth. Also super happy that we're going to be limiting really terrible inputs that come from overseas that go into the growing mediums that growers use. These are good things, and Americans have some of the best regulations as far as creating quality products in this regard, and I'm excited that we're going to be using more and more of those products. And even if we move to other countries, it's just going to change the way that this business is done. It's a good thing.
I mean, yeah, I think people should have already been moving their into more favorable nations in the first place. Second of all, I don't know if you've ever had to consult on a facility who needed to do a remediation because they hot filled a bunch of fucking vapes because they didn't test those little China carts that were sprayed for, whatever pest would have been around, and they just spray the containers, and that then transfers into the product. So now they've thrown away all of the product that they made that would have been good. Also, I don't know that I so much buy it flowing people back to the black market, because if you're going to buy a vape and you're going to buy a black market vape, that's probably also a China-made cartridge, or we'll see the cost differential being that different. Because of tariffs, because the tariffs are paid by the fucking purchasing party, right? So the tariffs are going to be, things are going to be more expensive for, I don't care if you're selling it on metric or you're selling it off metric, your cart price still went up.
Yep. I agree with all of that, Jenny. I agree with all of that.
The stores, the black market has more margin than the regulated market.
Well, that's because of the tariff taxes. Not the actual tariffs. It's because of the taxes in the regulated market, though, Dr. T.
Right. So the tariffs will affect the people who have less margin more than it'll affect the people who have more.
No, it's affecting them all the same, I think, Dr. T, because everyone universally, whether you're in the trap market or the regulated market, your price is going up, and so everyone's price is going up. And so,
Right,
and
but if your
it's
prices
equal.
go up and you don't have as much margin to absorb it, then it's going to cost your bottom line.
Yes,
I don't know
correct,
about all that.
Jason.
You know, the solution ultimately is getting rid of all the taxes, and I don't know why so many people support these cannabis taxes in the first place. That's what we need to get rid of.
Nobody said that.
We don't.
What
That's
Dr.
what I'm
T
saying.
said was true. And
Yes,
the
correct.
people who are going to win here is just like I said in the comments. If you're using living soil that's locally made, especially by yourself, and you use sun and water in a greenhouse or outdoors, you're going to win in this because you don't have any of these costs going up at all. Your costs won't change at all. So those are the people that are going to win. The growers and manufacturers that use the best practices, the actual best practices, they're going to win. The people who are using the crappiest products with the most inputs and are doing the worst growing practices and have the worst growing mediums and everything is imported and they have a million things that they put into it, those people are going to lose. So, and especially if they're not on the trap market, but even if they are in the trap market, they're still going to have their costs go way up. And yes, they have more margin to work with, but they're going to just increase that. So the prices are just going to go up.
I got a question though. I got a question to counter that. So, the people who have been doing all of the right things, their cost has already been way higher than the rest of the players. So they're going to have less money right now to operate. And so they're already hanging on by a thread. What makes you think that they're going to last any longer than the others?
People who are growing with living soil and sun and water they do not have higher costs. They have way lower costs than anybody who's using a ton of inputs.
I'm saying apples to apples, right? So you have, just say you have indoor. Any indoor operators, are they just going to all lose? Is that what you're saying?
If they're already doing those things, Rico, then by that thought pattern, then the tariffs won't affect them because they're already not sourcing those things that tariffs are being imposed on. So how does that change?
I'm asking Jesse about like indoor. Are we going to see the death of indoor?
Never.
I don't think you're going to see the death of it. I think you're going to see prices go way up to where they actually should be. And you're going to see a difference where people who are either growing in a greenhouse with living soil and water and sun or growing outdoors, their prices are going to stay so cheap. And you're going to have a dramatic increase with those who are using way more difficult processes. And that's actually how it should be. We should actually be paying a difference for those two different things, and we don't. I've seen that as a problem for a long, long time. Cost. We should be paying the true cost for things, not just letting things. Indoor should not cost the same as sun grown. There's just no way. But that's the case. That doesn't make any sense.
I will push back on the fact that you said their prices won't go up. Their prices have to go up. There's still too many things across their supply chain too that's still going to go up.
Like what?
What? Cost
their
of
equipment?
Sun, the cost
of their equipment. Are you saying
they already have their equipment?
That's a one-time purchase.
Let me finish. Like all of the things that we talked about yesterday across the supply chain, that was going to affect absolutely everybody, right? So from all of the cultivation equipment, all of the construction materials, aluminum, surveillance systems, all of that stuff is still going up too. So it's not
but
just
that's one-time purchase.
Hold on. So it's not just the stuff that the guys are using on the indoor. The outdoor guys are going to be affected vastly for this too. So their prices, everybody's prices are going to be up. Period.
Those are one-time purchases, and they've already done all that. So if you've already built your greenhouse,
but what happens when stuff breaks?
Farm, and you already have, sure, that's going to go up a little bit, but that's not going to impact your regular output costs. That's a drop in the ocean.
I think that's naive to say that. I think that's naive to say that.
That's going to go up
all the time.
The thing that's going to go up for everybody is packaging. If you're using plastic mylar or plastic rolling or pre-roll tubes, your cost for that is going to go way up. So you're going to have to figure out something different, or just raise your price on your packaging. But if you've already built your farm, and you've already done all that stuff, the cost of fixing things in the scale of your monthly or bi-monthly or quarterly harvest, however you do it, it's just not gonna affect that much.
I'm with you on
Yes, it
that,
will.
Dr. T. Deli style for the win, all day, every
Deli
day.
style shade.
Yeah.
I knew you
we
would
should
go
go.
there.
I'm a big fan of deli
100%.
style.
Yeah, 100%. But stuff breaks, Jesse, like all the time, and I think it is very, very, very naive to say that it's not going to affect them much, because stuff will break across the supply chain, and plumber's proverb applies here too: shit rolls downhill. And
Well,
if you don't think like any of the domestic suppliers who have switched over aren't going to be hard pressed and they're going to be shorthanded on their work right off the bat, like a lot of these people are going to be suffering a lot.
I like what Anna Lewis said in the chat. She said, we need to break our addiction to cheap shit.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. We need to break our addiction to
Comes
that.
down to.
Yeah.
Well, we need more money first. We need more money before we can break our addiction to cheap shit.
Jenny, you need to fix your sound thing. Whatever, you're sounding like R2D2. You sound like R2D2.
Is it better now?
Yeah, that much better now. Yes.
Okay, so if we're talking about, like we're seeing various prices on product go up because of these like random purchases.
You're cutting out again, Jenny. Your internet is toast.
Toast.
Mm-hmm.
She must be on Starlink.
She's definitely not on Starlink. That's funny. That's funny. That is pretty funny. Well, Dr. Mark, Dr. T, you have any thoughts you want to throw in all this before we move on to our first commercial?
No, I think you guys said it all.
Okay. Dr. Mark?
Yeah, you're not going to want to hear what I have to say.
I love what you have to say. I definitely do.
You last week. We need to hear you this week, Dr. Mark. Come on.
Yeah, there's not a schooled economist on planet Earth who thinks that this is a good idea for anything, let alone the cannabis industry, okay? I should tell you one thing. And I don't know what you're thinking about, Jesse. There's no way vape pen hardware is going to be made here in the U.S. Zero. It all comes from overseas. 90% of it comes from China. The other place is like Vietnam and other places that are all going to be slapped with high tariffs. Vape pen hardware is going to cost more, period. End of story, which means that vape pens are going to cost more. Not good for the cannabis consumer. These tariffs are stupid. No one thinks that they should be put in place except for,
Well, Dr. Mark,
I just Googled the vape hardware made in the U.S. and pulled up 3 companies.
Hold on, but irregardless of that, Dr. Mark, in the beginning of COVID, a number, there was a whole thing going on where people were told to move their production to places like Taiwan and Vietnam and whatnot. And I know Taiwan,
they don't have the infrastructure and the supply chain and the raw ingredients. They just don't, and it's going to take years. I'm talking 5 to 10 years before anything can actually be manufactured. And do you think that Americans are going to work under those conditions that the Chinese work for in their slave labor camps, right? Where they basically put children to work to basically make devices that get sold over here in the West? Are you kidding me?
Well, that's part of my that falls into the whole point. The only reason they have that they can offer those things that cheap is because they are doing that, and that's straight up exploitation. So why are we supporting that?
Well, we'll build automated factories.
You said we need to break our addiction to cheap shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what cheap shit gives you? It gives you margin, right? In a world of free enterprise, you have a vested interest to use the cheapest crap to make your products, period. Because the cheaper you make your products, the more money you get to pocket, right?
Yep.
That's basically
I get that.
In free enterprise.
And
so free enterprise is addicted to cheap shit.
And shout out to planned obsolescence out there, you guys. And on that, we're going to roll into our first commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, Not this stuff. This stuff is tested, every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Hilarious.
Oh, and we are back, you guys.
Not quite the comparison I would like.
You'll get over it. You got thick skin.
Comparison you got, so.
Up next is the highest Republican smoker, known for smoking the best weed in the world. The man who knows no truth except for social.
Oh, that's pretty funny. That is pretty funny. Good morning, you guys. Good morning. Well, I got an interesting one for you guys today because ScottsMiracle-Gro transfers a cannabis subsidiary to independent, unnamed partner, you guys. I wonder why they're not naming who they're transferring it to. The Lawn and Garden Company spearheaded its cannabis holdings Hawthorne Collective to drive greater growth in its core business. The ScottsMiracle-Gro Company, the world's leading marketer of branded consumer lawn and garden products, as well as a leader in indoor and hydroponic growing products, announced the transfer of its wholly owned subsidiary, the Hawthorne Collective Incorporated, to an independent strategic partner, you guys. The company created the Hawthorne Collective in 2021 as a vehicle to invest in areas of the cannabis industry that are not pursued by its Hawthorne Gardening Company subsidiary, a leader in cultivation supplies such as lighting, nutrients, and other materials for cannabis growers and hydroponic cultivators. Including within the Hawthorne Collective's holdings are investment in Fluent, previously Canasortium, a vertically integrated cannabis company with licenses and operations in Florida, Pennsylvania, Texas, and New York. The Hawthorne, in a quote, they say, the Hawthorne Collective transaction is the initial step in our plan to move our cannabis-adjacent subsidiaries into a separate and independent company as we further our strategic focus on our core lawn and garden business. ScottsMiracle-Gro chairman and CEO Jim Hagedorn said, in a quote, for our shareholders, this will reduce the impact of the cannabis sector's volatility on our company stock and provide opportunities to drive meaningful and immediate value creation through increased investments in our consumer businesses. As we further advance this plan, we will look to separate the Hawthorne Gardening Co. from ScottsMiracle-Gro by the close of fiscal year 2025, he says. In an additional quote, they say, the Hawthorne companies were intended to capitalize on the legal cannabis sector, but the ability to achieve sustained growth within this industry has been challenged by 4 years of unkept promises, resulting in total inaction at the federal level on cannabis-related issues. President Trump has supported a range of much-needed reforms, from rescheduling cannabis to adoption of the Safer Banking Act, and the actions he has endorsed would accelerate industry growth and increase the value of these investments. Until they become a reality, we believe the Hawthorne companies can be a greater asset within an independent cannabis dedicated entity, specifically one in which our cultivation supply business can partner with a multi-state operator or leading cannabis brands, they say. Under the terms of the deal, ScottsMiracle-Gro transferred the Hawthorne Collective to the strategic partner in exchange for an interest-bearing promissory note. The company retains an option to reacquire the Hawthorne Collective or its assets should cannabis legalization and other measures to positively impact the industry be approved at the federal level, you guys. Well, sounds like someone got pretty smart out there in Ohio, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
To me, when I first portion of that article, Jason, which was to a single person who, might be poised for better revenue generation. Sounds like Hawthorne just said, hey, we didn't actually know what the fuck we were doing, so maybe we should give this operations over to an operator before we continue to fuck things up.
No,
So,
I don't think that's the case. I think it's the case is they're trying to limit their 280E mitigation on their overall company overall, and they're trying to separate it so then that way it doesn't affect their shareholder base on all of the other products that they sell that are not subject to 280E. I think 280E is the crux of this whole story.
So definitely, but they're also taking L after L after L, because I don't know if you've looked at their operations and their productions lately, but it's shite.
Yeah, I agree with Jenny. This is a really fancy way and a PR way of saying Hawthorne is a major liability to our normal business, and we need to separate it so that when Hawthorne gets hit, it doesn't hit our other business.
I think they just made a bad bet. They thought the regulation was going to get passed, and it didn't. And what they saw as a very promising opportunity for them just ended up being like, "Yo, we have no idea what the fuck is going on. There's way too much other things are going to be affecting our bottom line going forward again because of tariffs. So we need to focus on that rather than focus on something that's even deeper ingrained in the political uncertainty that we're dealing with now." So I think it's an easy there's an amputated leg right here. You got to get rid of it. Something that's rotting away. Gang is gangrenous. Get rid of it, and they just cut it off.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if anybody takes the bait. Like they say they're spinning it off. Are they selling it? What's going on?
No, they're separating it. So they're taking that and they're putting it into basically they're taking those assets and putting it into a individual entity that they say is unnamed at this point.
Yeah. So
Godspeed to all the Hawthorne operators out there. Sounds like they're just being left out in the dark, left out in the dry. Here, I would not be surprised if that just crumbled and withered away.
Oh boy.
I mean, compared to what? They've been losing money quarter after quarter after quarter. So compared to what? Withering away.
And they should. They're one of the worst actors in the entire industry.
Yeah, I'm not defending them. I'm not defending them at all. What I'm saying is, like, prior to this, they had the backing of ScottsMiracle-Gro, which brings in over $4 billion in revenue every single quarter. Right.
Well,
so just having the backing of that in your name brings in more interest than anything else. Like now
I think they're still going to have that same interest. I think they're still going to have the same interest because at the end of the story, it says that they still have the option to retain the company back should federal policy change or divert from the current course that it's on. And so that's just basically is just trigger words to say, hey, you know what, guys, we're putting this over here into this company to mitigate our 280E exposure or whatnot. But as soon as things change, we're bringing it back into the full company, full fold, everything back in as planned as usual.
This to me is the equivalent of, yeah, babe, let's take a break. Y'all ain't getting back together.
Yeah,
I'm hitting the club. I'm getting this money, and I'm probably hollering at your girls.
That's totally true, unless there is a safer banking or some meaningful cannabis legislation that's passed.
For 3.5 years.
If that does happen, then they will 100% just go, "Whoop, we'll take that back. Thank you."
3.5 years from now, you think?
I think they brought a lot of investment in based on the fact that they're like, oh, federal legalization is coming. It's about to be legal. This is going to be a huge opportunity. You don't want to miss this. So they're like, hey, at the second that we can start saying that and selling stock options on that again, please let us have that option in our arsenal.
Well, yeah, and I am aware that they did have a couple other deals with a couple other companies that never actually came to fruition because they were triggered based off of federal legalization, and so none of those deals that came through, and so they're probably just like, hey, you know what, it's time to just move on. We'll just put a pause on all this. We can table this all and wait for some to happen as opposed to, you know what I mean.
Well, small growers tell me that the best cannabis comes from growing your own soil, composting, mulching. So
I believe that.
Small growers who grow their own soil are not going to care about it.
I believe that the best strawberries I've ever had in the world, Dr. Tallyrand, are Harry's berries, and I asked them what they think that their main secret is, and what they told me is that they mulch up all of the strawberry vines into their soil after every harvest, and it just keeps on just fermenting, and Harry's berries probably the best strawberries I've ever had on the planet.
Nothing
Who's
beats
that?
living soil. Nothing beats living soil.
Whose berries is that?
Harry's
Jason?
berries. They're called Harry's berries.
Harry's berries?
Yeah, Harry's berries, bro. They're amazing. The best strawberry is oh my god, it's so good, so good.
Yeah, that's what you call them, huh?
No, that's what they're called. That's cute. And on that, we are going to roll right into Dr. Jean Tallyrand. He's the founder of the CESC and of Medican, where you can get your doctor's recommendations. So then that way you can be on the medical side of things. That's right. It is none other than Dr. Jean Tallyrand.
Thank you, Jason. Rico, you got a raging peanut gallery today. I love it. Happy Friday, everyone. So my headline today is from Cannabis Business Times. The cannabis industry is failing medical patients and leaving billions on the table. This is an opinion by Kenneth Epstein. Before licensed dispensaries, venture capital, and mass market branding, there were patients. The legal cannabis industry exists today because of them. It was patients, people living with AIDS, cancer, autism, epilepsy, multiple sclerosis, and other debilitating conditions who fought for legalization. Their advocacy, their stories, and their medical needs convinced policymakers to take cannabis seriously. Yet today, those patients have been left behind. I've had the privilege of speaking with medical cannabis physicians, nurses, and patients. I've seen firsthand what they need and how frustrated they are that an industry with an industry that has deprioritized them. Meanwhile, the cannabis market is struggling. Profit margins are shrinking, and brands are failing to differentiate themselves. Yet millions of patients, people suffering from over 80 medical conditions linked to the endocannabinoid system, are still searching for products designed for them. How can a patient find an appropriate product when dispensary shelves are stocked with few options for medical patients? It's time for the cannabis industry to return to its roots. The future of sustainable growth isn't just in chasing recreational consumers, it's in finally delivering what medical patients have needed all along. For brands willing to step into this space, the opportunity is massive. The market potential for medical cannabis includes 50 million US adults with chronic pain. The pain management market is expected to reach $115 billion by 2031. 10% of women in reproductive age have endometriosis, a condition without good pharmaceutical options and which cannabis is reported as effective. Nearly 7 million Americans have Alzheimer's disease, another condition which has shown improved results from cannabis use. 1 in 36 children have autism. Many caregivers are exploring cannabis for autism symptom relief. Yet most cannabis products are designed for recreational consumers, not medical patients. Cannabis brands have spent the last decade prioritizing THC potency and branding over research, development, and medical formulations. The result? An industry where patients struggle to find standardized, effective, properly labeled, and well-researched products. This isn't just a failure of vision, it's a massive missed business opportunity. Brands that move beyond flower and generic edibles will lead this space. Here's what it takes. Develop targeted medical formulations, invest in research and patient trials, upgrade packaging and labeling, build relationships with healthcare providers. The brands that invest in R&D, patient engagement, and clinical validation will establish themselves as the trusted leaders in medical cannabis. The question isn't whether medical cannabis will become a major segment of the industry, it's who will control it. The time to act is now. Who's ready to step up? The full disclosure, I know, Ken, and we've had a couple of conversations. The underlying problem is that current cannabis operators don't know how to market and sell medicine. Operators complain about high taxes and low margins. They focus on THC content and colorful packaging to attract the cannabis connoisseur. Meanwhile, the patient with chronic pain heads to CVS to pick up a bottle of Tylenol or Motrin. A large demographic of patients is left underserved. Is it the regulators that we should blame for the perils of the cannabis industry? Or should we really blame the operators and cannabis culture, which knows very little about selling medicine to patients? This is Dr. Jean Tallyrand with High at 9 News.
The story's sad to me, Dr. T.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's true. I mean, like, I came from the Colorado market, which was largely focused on patients, largely focused on pediatric patients. We dealt with them like firsthand, and it was really incredible to watch the changes that it made, especially in pediatric patients' lives. And they've just gotten left behind because those aren't the moneymakers. Those aren't the people who are going to come in and buy a $90 eighth because their favorite rapper told them to. Those aren't the people that are the low-hanging fruit. And that's really sad that as an industry, we've just left them behind because that's not the fun, sexy, money-making portion.
Well, I think a lot of it too, Dr. T, has to do with the fact that companies can't advertise medical benefits on the packaging without the possible legal liability, and I think that's part of it too. They can't say, hey, this helps for this helps for that, this helps for that. They have to say, patients that suffer from this have done that, and they can't print that on their package.
Well, I don't know. Jesse's the brander. Is it difficult? To me, you can. The nutraceutical industry is doing just fine, being able to advertise the benefits of nutraceuticals for chronic pain. They have no.
I know, but we're not there yet because we're still a Schedule I drug. And so until we get descheduled, we're not going to be there. But I do agree that cannabis should be treated and regulated as a nutraceutical. That should be the baseline for how it's treated.
Well, I don't know. I go into a dispensary. There's no RSO. And the people in the dispensary don't know how to sell RSO. So I think that's something that you can fix internally. Meanwhile, patients, like I say, are not coming into the store. I go into the store and they're selling weed to stoners. That's what they want to do. That's what they've been doing for most of their lives. That's what they're comfortable with. No blame, but the result is you're not tapping into a larger demographic.
Dr. T, I couldn't agree with you more. I do think it's a major business opportunity missed. I want to say back in like 2016, 2017, I won't name the group because I didn't get permission from them to name this, but we actually worked on a couple projects for a separate medical lane, working with autistic kids, working with a lot of medical patients with a dispensary out in Orange County, and ended up raising like $14 million for that dispensary group to expand. They had change of ownership and they switched everything over to all adult use. And they recently have gone into receivership. They abandoned the original game plan to have two separate lanes and actually have consultants, like medical consultants, come in and speak with patients and stuff like that. And they just threw that shit out because they wanted to be cool. And that's worked out very well for them.
Well, when you say that, Rico, I hear you, and I think that's an excellent example of what I think the problem actually is. And I think it's that a lot of these, we have real patients in these medical markets, but oftentimes when we see states that are medical only, we see all these medical operators that never intended to be medical operators. They just want to operate up to and until they can switch over and be adult use. So when you say switching from the original plan, yes, that was their original plan. But was their original plan just to find, and not to say that they weren't trying to do good work, but I think a lot of these operators that get in under the medical, there's this sparse medical industry throughout cannabis, right? And you're talking about the people that will call Dr. T and be like, oh yeah, my back hurts, wink, wink, can I get an extended plant count? We were paying $600 all the time to get 99 plus plants, 99 plants in Colorado. And let me tell you what that wasn't, medicinal use. There were some people, very, very few, though, who were using those appropriately as caregivers. So I think that we're seeing a lot of people in this industry that were sticking to what their actual plan was, which is to find a way into the industry under a pseudo-medical thought process just until they can switch over and actually just sling weed.
Yeah, with this group, that was the plan. And like I said, they had a change of ownership. They had a corporate coup come in and they wanted to go all adult use. And they ended up going into receivership recently. So I think that's.
I don't know how many.
Go ahead.
How many of you guys remember back in the day when a private equity firm would would be like, yeah, I'm doing this. They would give you their medical story, how somebody in their family or something was saved by cannabis as medicine, and then turn around and just start selling weed. I mean, it was BS from the beginning.
And yeah, they all heard the same story and then parroted it and added an ant or something in there. Yep, 100,000%.
That is true.
So I have a couple things to say. One is one of the big problems here. We're kind of dancing around it, but there was this rush from the medical aspect into the adult use or recreational side, and it was literally because of the green rush and because of people's chase for the dollar. And it turned out, as we all have very much seen over the last 6-7 years, that was a farce and it doesn't work. And everybody who chased that has ended up, with their dick in the dirt. So that's one thing. And to go back to medical, it's like, can you put the rabbit back in the hat? I don't really know. Dr. Jean, I really love that you constantly talk about type 1, type 2, type 3. I think that identification of the cannabis plant really helps this, and reframing the way we look at the plant and define it is one thing that will really help this and help us to understand that there's different ways of approaching this in different parts of the whole plant, which also in that article, it said that the brands that leave flower and things behind are going to be the ones that succeed. I think you and other doctors who really know the plant well that's not necessarily the case. Whole plant formulations, FICO and RSO and things like that are really, really important. So we need to really define that medicine and have the general population understand it. That's one thing. And then the other part of this is the branding, right? So there was a ton of mention of the branding, and they talk about it like a logo or like your packaging is the branding. And in one sense, that's the way we think of it, and that's the way it goes. But the truth is that your brand is what you're about and why you're about it. And it is whether or not the customer really understands that. And the brand of cannabis globally, or at least in America, is the green rush. It's a plant that you sell to make money that people use to get high. That's the brand of it. And so we've really messed up the brand of the plant by chasing that. And the brands that fuel that are the cookies and the various brands that are like that they just sell weed in a Mylar bag. That's what they do. And there's no brand to that other than you're out to make a quick buck. That's the brand. It's not a brand of helping people. It's not a brand of lifting up the plant. It's not a brand of what cannabis. I mean, if you read The Emperor Wears No Clothes by Jack Herer, that should be the brand of the plant, is what's in that book. And we've wandered very, very, very far from that. So I would just encourage people to realign your understanding of what branding is. It's who you are and what you're about and why you're about it, not necessarily what you put on the package.
I think whole brand identity is important, but I also think there's space for both. We just can't forget the people that, helped build this industry. If it wasn't for the HIV/AIDS patients, if it wasn't for the Canna kids, if it wasn't for those people, we would never have gotten as far as we have with this movement, and we wouldn't have an industry to be arguing over. So it's fine. Go do your trappy weed stuff. Go do your cool branding, whatever you want to do. But don't forget those patients. They shouldn't be at a shortage of medicine, right? Because you decided that, hey, we don't need you anymore.
I agree with that. I just think that doesn't happen. People just go and chase the dollar, and they do forget completely what the origin of this is and what the purpose of this really is.
Well, Lester Black just wrote about a company out in Northern California, Level Pro Tabs.
I like that brand.
That route. Yeah. Their packaging is very simple, all very clinically looking, dosage.
And a lot of their stuff is isolated compounds too. A lot of their products are all isolated compounds that are specific. Like they have a THCV, individual product, individual CBD, individual THC. All of these different things. Like all of their stuff is very pharmaceutical grade for a cannabis dispensary type of shelf.
Yeah.
Dr. Mark, do you have anything you want to throw in before we go to our next commercial?
if you need a brand to sell your cannabis, find better cannabis.
Fair enough. And on that, we're going to roll into our next commercial, and we're going to be right back. Anthony, the Stream Deck is not working. I don't know why it didn't work, but it didn't work for the applause, but it worked earlier today. Yep, there we go. Thank you.
Weak stream.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that, they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Oh, yes, and we are back, you guys. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. And any of you that are a brand in New York or a processor in New York and looking for a clean, reliable source of distillate and other concentrates, make sure that you hit me up. My contact information is in the description below in this video. That's what we're all about. And Rico, we are back, buddy.
Oh yeah. Up next, we got a little functional Friday heat for that ass. He's a highly recognized New England-based organic chemistry expert here to break us down with the lesson of the week. None other than the professor himself, Dr. Mark Scialdone.
I'm sorry, Dr. Mark, I don't have the claps. It's not working. I'm sorry.
There you go.
There we go. Yes.
I was never a big fan of the clap anyway.
Oh, fair enough.
Hey.
Oh man.
Okay.
Just a little clap.
Well, let me pull it up. And it's entitled Florida Senate Passes Bill to Restrict Hemp Products like Delta-8 THC. For those of you who need to know, this is what Delta-8 THC looks like. Right? Double bond here. Double bond should be over here for Delta-9, but over here it's for Delta-8, right? Everyone see that? Okay. All right, so let's see. Where does this article start? We have retailers in the state of Florida that are selling products that are intoxicating. Oh my gosh. They're selling products and putting adults and children in the hospital. Okay. The story by Mitch Perry out of Phoenix, Florida. The second year in a row, the Florida Senate has approved new regulations on hemp-derived THC products in Florida. Although this time the proposal includes limitations on the industry's new hottest product, THC-infused beverages. Polk County Republican Senator Colleen Burton has led the charge in attempting to place some restrictions on these intoxicating products, which have emerged since the state legalized hemp in 2019. Since then, some states have banned all such products, while others have heavily regulated them. Burton said that people have asked her why she is trying to regulate an industry that has been established in Florida for years. She said hemp-derived THC products are causing harms to Floridians. We have retailers in the state of Florida that are selling products that are intoxicating, she said. They are selling products that are putting adults and children in the hospital. And sadly, they are selling products that are causing the death of Floridians. She alluded to a Jacksonville television station's website, which reported this week on a Georgia woman who believes that her 25-year-old son's death from heart disease was caused by ingesting Delta-8 gummies. That young man did not know what he was ingesting and what was going to hurt him, Burton said. The bill, Senate Bill 438, bans all Delta-8 products and limits the amount of Delta-9 hemp-derived products to no more than 5 milligrams per serving or 50 milligrams per container. It limits the amount of THC in hemp-infused drinks to 5 milligrams per container. Such drinks could only be sold through a retailer holding a liquor license. It requires that each final batch of hemp extract must be tested in a certified marijuana testing laboratory before it could be sold in the state, with results verified and signed by 2 laboratory employees. That would determine whether or not the product meets the definition of hemp and hemp extract. During a combined Florida House work group formed to study the hemp industry earlier this session, the owner of Lakeland Testing Lab that contracted with the Florida Department of Agriculture to test cannabis and hemp products appeared. He testified that his lab tested 50 out of 53 flower hemp samples from different smoke/hemp shops across the state that were over the 0.3% Delta-9 THC limit and found contaminants in those products. I take it that would be heavy metals and microbials, doesn't say. These are very intoxicating products, said Southeast Florida Senator Gail Harrell. They're addicting products, and at the end of the day, and people need to know that. We need to make sure that people know what they're buying. And we have so many fly-by-night places selling hemp, safe hemp, and THC levels that are higher than in medical marijuana that you can get in a dispensary. The bill prohibits businesses and food establishments permitted to sell hemp products from advertising in a manner visible to the public from any street, sidewalk, park, or any other place. Florida law already bans marketing THC hemp in a way that might attract children. The bill expands that definition to include containers displaying toys or other features that target children, and products manufactured in a form or packaged in a container that bears any reasonable resemblance to a branded food product in a way that the product could be mistaken for a branded food product, especially by children. And it says that all such products must be placed out of reach of customers, either in a controlled access area accessible only to employees, or in locked display cases excluding beverages, which I guess must be in a locked refrigerator. Similar bill unanimously passed the Florida Senate a year ago, but vetoed by Governor Ron DeSantis, followed heavy lobbying from the hemp industry. Grateful for the reprieve, several hemp entrepreneurs fund DeSantis' campaign to bring down Amendment 3, the proposed constitutional amendment that would have legalized recreational use of cannabis for adults 21 and over. Jacksonville Democrat Tracy Davis, who co-sponsored the bill, acknowledged in her closing statement that the bill was significantly different than last year's version. That bill, that was a bill that was vetoed, she said. There's not much different that's from last year's bill that was vetoed. The vote in favor of was unanimous. The House version, HB 7027, now sponsored by Panhandle Republican Michelle Saltzman, it has 2 committees to go through before it can reach the floor of the chamber. So that's the story from Florida. Just seems that, again, it's more of the same stuff, trying to figure out how they can regulate these hemp-derived beverages and other things. You know, the hemp production down in Delaware or down in Florida is really it's one of the big states where a lot of these products are being produced, let alone sold. 5 milligrams per container, that would basically preclude much of the 10 milligram per container beverages that are out there today. So they'd have to just dial that down by 5 milligrams. 5 milligrams in a nano-emulsified drink could certainly be intoxicating depending on what your tolerance is. I don't know, man. It seems as though, again, there's this strong regulated cannabis lobby in there that's just trying to squelch out the hemp industry. Hemp industry has got bigger guns, got more money, and ultimately just a larger addressable market. So even though those products maybe can't be sold in Florida, they're being manufactured in Florida and in a 10 milligram drink. So 10 milligrams in 12 ounce beverage like this would be still an order of magnitude below the 0.3 legal limit. So I don't know why they're limiting it to 5 milligrams a drink. I think that's just some arbitrary amount, although I think the NIH did come out and say 5 milligrams of THC is a dose of THC. I don't know how they determine that. Yeah, so I think it's just much of the same stuff from Florida. I don't see a whole lot of progress in these bills. Just a lot of, lip service from those in government trying to move these things forward, but doesn't look like this is really going to result in too much. That's my opinion. I'm here in Vermont, beautiful state that I live in. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend and you got great weather. And make cannabis part of your plans. It's Dr. Mark, High News. Peace.
Dr. Mark, what are the odds DeSantis just vetoes this shit too?
That's what I think is going to happen, Rico.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this you know what this reminds me of is the back and forth with the DEA talking about Schedule 3.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, we're going to have hearings. Ooh, we're going to do this. It's
Right.
much ado about nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so DeSantis will veto this, and there'll be some uproar between the cannabis side and the hemp side, and then there'll end up being more legislation being introduced.
No, I think it's just
ultimately.
it's going to cost Kim Rivers another, you know what I'm saying, $150, $200 million to put a whole initiative together again.
I think we're going to see
the
a
question.
return of
How much
Spice.
is this going to cost Kim Rivers?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well,
I think
Kim
Spice
Rivers-
is going to make a major comeback here. K2 for the win.
Boy. Oh, man, that's not a good
actually,
thing.
Honestly, Rico, sadly enough, I had somebody tell me the other day, look, I want to try Spice. Everybody's like rapping about it, talking about it.
Somebody said they
Please
want to
don't
try it?
Smoke Spice. Please don't smoke Spice. Like, what's wrong with you?
You're going to see the return of the face eaters.
Yeah, it's fucking research chemicals and shit. Like, it's so fucking weird. The person who told me that, I'm like, you're an idiot. Like, you're a big idiot. You're a big old 40-something-year-old man. You're an idiot for this. So, I think that it's sad, and I don't think Kim Rivers is going to have a whole lot of money to spend on this, because Kim Rivers got to throw a lot of money to attorneys right now because her ass is in trouble for some things. So, I think we need to probably do an update on that soon. I'll try to look for some more info on what's going on with those cases. But I think here's the problem that I have with the unregulated hemp market, right? We are leading this whole initiative and we're trying to keep pushing the narrative, that the true narrative, that cannabis is not harmful, it is safe. And then we have dickheads that come into their little facilities and start putting together their cannabis version of research chemicals. And now there is a possibility that you could hurt someone with some of these poorly made conversions, and not being a scrupulous operator when we're looking at things like what you're adding into the product and the quality of things that you're expecting people to either combust or put into their body through ingestion. So I think that I have a problem with the way that some of the hemp market is run because of those things. Other than that, and I think Dr. Mark, you probably have a problem with the fake cannabis that's sold. It's just like it's regular THC and it's not naturally occurring.
Mm-hmm.
Did we cover the story about the guy who died after eating a THC gummy? Did we cover that here on Highline News?
We did not.
Hold on, I think we did. What you got to give me a little bit more in-depth detail about this.
The fellow who ate the THCA, I'm sorry, the Delta 8 gummy, and then ended up having cardiac arrest. I guess. Again,
we did. We did. Yeah, we did cover it, and we came to the conclusion that it was not the gummy that killed it. This guy died from other things. It was not the gummy that killed him, even though that the headline wanted to portray that.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you eat one of these gummies, certainly like you're going to get a lot of the hydroxy metabolite that's actually more potent than the Delta 8 itself in your body, and if you are someone who has a low tolerance, that metabolite could be very, very overwhelming in your peripheral cannabinoid system. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, Dr. T, have you ever seen any cases of Delta 8 poison? I mean, there is an article, and there are legitimate adverse effects that are reported the poison control centers. And a lot of times these things are going back to, Delta 8 gummies or THC gummies. I mean, they're always synthetic things. So to kind of answer your question, Jenny, I would think that, again, if you have unfettered access to high-quality cannabis products, this market for recreational synthetics wouldn't even exist. So I think the solution, which may not be intuitively obvious to people in the government, is to basically remove cannabis from the schedule altogether, right? Completely deschedule cannabis, make it readily accessible, and then I don't think you'd have like people ingesting Delta 8 gummies and then going to the hospital with cardiac arrest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're on mute, Dr. T. You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know the effects of Delta 8. I've heard positive and negative. To me, it is a new drug, whereas cannabis has thousands of years of use that we can use to say that it's relatively safe. I think the hemp industry, went down this pathway because it was their way of trying to get THC to the masses, but these days they seem to have figured out how to get the natural THC to the masses without changing it to conversions, without converting it to Delta 8 or the other types. So hopefully they've learned their lesson and are now just producing regular flower, just like the regulated cannabis industry is producing.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. And
it's getting spicy.
Yeah, lots of spice, bro. Lots of spice. I think ultimately, you know what I mean. It's gonna. I think ultimately Ron DeSantis he has to veto this bill, even if it does get through the legislature. I mean, it's based off of his commitment from the previous election. I think he's kind of pot committed on this one, as far as on the hemp side. But time will tell, and we are going to roll into our final commercial, and we are going to be right back.
What about Trump? He's down there too. Why don't he have something to say about it, Jason?
Yep. There we go. Yes.
Well, Jake.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, I left one, But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Heard much about that investigation?
Oh, and we
You know what I'm
are back, you guys, and we are going to roll right in to the Southern Belle herself, Miss Jenny Beth Dills, who needs to slide her fancy little cup just a little bit out of the way. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis and of Justice Served, a 501c3. She has constantly helping justice impaired individuals with Justice Served, and she can help all of your cannabis companies keep your things on track, whether that's BioTrack or MetTrack. That's right, it is none other than Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
My fancy little cup is way out of the way.
No, it's not. It's not. It's in the view.
It's fucking right here.
No, it needs to move.
What are you talking
Thank
about
you.
today?
Thank you.
What are you talking about
No.
today, Jenny Beth? What kind of story?
Just whatever.
Excited about that.
Okay, whatever. Do your thing.
Whiny. All right, Connecticut. A major bust at a Norwalk vape shop Thursday led to the arrest of one man and the seizure of illegal cannabis products. Police executed a search and seizure warrant at the Mohegan Smoke Shop on North Main Street. Inside, officers discovered pre-rolled marijuana cigarettes, I love when they call them that, THC gummies, edibles, and vape products, all allegedly being sold without a license. Some of the edibles reportedly contained more than the legal limit of THC. Authorities also found several $100s in cash and the items packaged for retail sale in a locked room. Police arrested 23-year-old Yasin Adwin of Bridgeport. He's facing multiple felony charges, including possession and the intent to sell over 1 kilogram of marijuana products. His bond was set at $25,000, and he's due in court on April 24th. We'll continue to bring you updates on both of these stories as they become available. So this is, Ding Dong Head, stop selling weed out of the vape shop. This is Connecticut, and this is one more example of what happens when you have the option to be part of a licensed market and you choose to continue to sell illicitly. So I don't know. I just feel like these are kind of the problem operators because they're operating out of a vape shop that will probably sell it to your kid. I mean, this 23-year-old guy is probably not going to be like, hey, are you 17 or 18? Are you 16 or 19? So, it's interesting. I love when they call them marijuana cigarettes. That's just like my favorite outdated term, personally. But, yeah, what do you guys think? Sounds like this guy made an oopsie.
Shout out to marijuana cigarettes, you guys. We used to call them. I used to have ground up weed packed in old empty cigarettes, and we used to call them weederettes.
That's a dumb name.
It was a cute name. It was a cute name. We still sell them like hotcakes.
Cigaweed.
Mm-hmm.
Sick of weed is much better.
Mm-hmm. You're sick of weed.
Sick of weed, moron.
Oh man. What do you got to say, Rico?
Cut out, Jason.
Okay. All right. Rico got nothing to say on this one. I'm surprised.
You cut out. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I said, what do you got to say on this one?
Saying there's just like a blotter report.
Mm-hmm.
There's really much to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
Was the guy trying to sell it as hemp?
Yeah, the guy was trapping.
He's just trapping.
No, Jason, he wasn't trying to sell it as weed. He was just trapping. He had it in a locked room in the back, and if you came in, gave him 2 winks and told him to steal third, he was bringing you out some marijuana cigarettes.
Yeah, dude owned a smoke shop and he was trapping out of the smoke shop.
Mm-hmm.
Then he got caught trapping out of the smoke shop.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's much to comment on.
That's a real American entrepreneur right there.
Right?
Man, this guy
classic American story.
This guy should have just had a pager.
I mean, it also sketches me out a little bit that he had edibles, not that the edibles were too strong, but because the edibles were too strong, they definitely didn't come from a regulated market. So, whenever you are doing a food product that someone needs to eat, there need to be certain safety standards that are adhered, and there's a reason why those have to be produced in a commercial kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't trust the guy Steve from up the street so much with making my edibles, because I don't know if Steve's kitchen's got roaches in it or not, or if Steve washed the dishes first or whatever's going on. So I think this guy was trapping. So
yeah, I mean, from the picture that the picture's
hilarious.
Yeah, these police seizure pictures are getting sadder and sadder. Like, there's maybe like what do you think there, Jenny Beth? Maybe like 20 joints.
Yeah.
like 20 joints there. It looks like 4 eighth packs of whatever that is, and maybe like 10 vapes and a bunch of edibles. Like this is maybe I don't know, just eyeballing this. Like maybe like $200-$300 worth of product that they seized. This guy's just throw this guy under the jail.
Yeah. Man. All right. Well, let's keep this train rolling. We're gonna roll into Jesse Barney then. You ready? You ready, Rico?
Yeah, we got our last commercial already.
No, yeah, we already did our last commercial. Yeah, you just got to introduce Jesse, bro.
You were in it.
All right. Up next, it is the man who has somewhere between 7 and 17 children, because he's out there getting his, Elon Musk on. Good friend of the show for a long time, and I'm glad that he's blessing us with his thoughts and feelings every single Friday, with a little bit of ginger sprinkled on top of them. Make sure you go to him with your branding needs, because he is a specialist in that. And I really do enjoy your stories that you bring to the table here, Jesse. So Jesse Barney, the last headline of the day, and break us off with something to think about. What you got?
Well, I've got a story from our buddy Cole from the Cole memo regarding.
Yeah, shout out to the Cole memo.
He's not in the chat today. Wish he was, so he could listen to his story being read live. But hey, that's how
he'll watch it later.
I know he will. I know. And the headline is this: Illinois Senate advances bill to curb cannabis-based traffic stops. House consideration up next. We've been following this story along as he's been writing a lot about it, and this is the next installment. The Illinois Senate has passed Senate Bill 42, a measure sponsored by Senator Rachel Ventura that would prohibit law enforcement from using the smell of cannabis, raw or burnt, as the sole reason to search a vehicle. The bill is a direct response to confusion created by recent Illinois Supreme Court rulings. In People v. Redmond, the court found that the smell of burnt cannabis alone is not sufficient to justify a search. But in People v. Molina, the court ruled that the smell of raw cannabis was enough to establish the probable cause due to laws requiring odor-proof packaging. The bill passed the Senate Criminal Law Committee on February 19th. Ventura's bill aims to eliminate that contradiction. This bill aims to bring clarity by directing law enforcement to consider all factors, not just odor, in deciding if the law has been broken, she said. Senate Bill 42 would remove the odor-proof packaging requirement while maintaining rules that cannabis must be stored in a sealed, child-resistant container. Cannabis must still be out of arm's reach. Adults 21 and over would no longer be subject to stops or searches based solely on cannabis odor. Senate Bill 42 would remove the requirement that cannabis be stored in an odor-proof container while maintaining existing rules that it must be kept in a secured, sealed, or resealable, child-resistant container. The bill does not modify existing DUI statutes. Driving under the influence of cannabis remains illegal. The bill also retains the requirement that cannabis be inaccessible whilst a vehicle is on a highway, meaning neither drivers nor passengers may possess cannabis within reach, treating it like a gun in a car. Silly. Peter Contos of Cannabis Equity Illinois praised the bill as another step forward in modernizing Illinois cannabis laws, saying it will reduce unnecessary stops and ease pressure on law enforcement. The bill now heads to the House for consideration. If passed by the House, it will advance to Governor Pritzker's desk, where he could choose to sign it into law or issue a veto. At this time, it is unclear whether the governor stands on the matter. This should be just totally obvious, in my opinion, from every state that just the odor of cannabis alone shouldn't be any reason to search people. Just because you have cannabis in the car and you can smell it doesn't mean that any kind of law is being broken. You have to have some other reason, some other good probable cause to actually search the car and try to prove that some law has been broken, such as a DUI. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I'd love to hear where my fellow correspondents sit.
I'm willing to bet that if this came to the desk, Governor Pritzker would totally veto this bill, because he's created a super protectionist marketplace within the state of Illinois, and you know, this to me would just go against the framework of how he's tried to set up this marketplace in such a protectionist way.
He's been pretty liberal on the cannabis laws. So I don't know if he'd veto this. I think he would actually.
You think he'd sign it?
Yeah, I think he would.
I don't think he would. It's all right.
I don't know how he would even see it on his desk past his own stomach.
Oh man, that part. You know, maybe it'd just be a digital copy, Jesse, on his computer screen.
He has to have someone hold it in front of him, because I'm sure his arms don't even move either.
Oh man. Easy there.
Listen, if you had that much unfettered access to $4, giant Italian beefs, combos, wet, all the things that you can eat for $4 that are 9,700 calories a piece in Chicago and in Illinois, you'd be a fat ass too, Jesse.
Yeah, man. You got to respect a man who he makes a lot of self-deprecating jokes about him, about his own weight too. Dude's worth $4 billion. Like, whatever, man.
Exactly.
Whatever.
He's worth $4 billion. I feel you on that. And shout out to the C Word, who threw in a big old super chat for us, who says some buds simply will not be bound by odor-proof containers. I agree with that. I agree with that. I think if you got real that fire, like that odor-proof container ain't really, it's not really working.
But what if you put an odor-proof container inside of an odor-proof container, and then it's just double odor-proof container?
Well, the first thing about it is you have to realize is if you put something in an odor-proof container and it's not odor-proof, it's not really an odor-proof container. So that's, I think we have the right to sue, because that's mismarketing. What do you think?
Well, just break one law at a time, Jason. Like, don't be flagrant. First of all, like, literally, don't be flagrant. If you get searched because you have a loud ass eighth of weed in the container, and they find a loud ass eighth of weed in the unopened container, you're not currently high, you're literally, whatever, then I bet you just continue on with your good day. It was a bit annoying you got searched. Now, if they search you because you got a loud ass flagrant eighth of weed in your car, and then you also got a blicky in the back, now we have a problem.
I think they would probably end up writing me a ticket for a noise violation because my weed was too loud.
Yeah, I think the key to success here is just turn down the volume.
Exactly.
You're cruising through residential neighborhoods.
Bringing attention to yourself, Rico. Yeah, bass is so loud, your license plate frame is rattling.
Are you in fucking high school now?
Your 99 Civic.
I had a Hyundai XL, yo.
Beats.
91 Hyundai XL.
Beats, son, on the block.
Yeah.
What
412 kicker 12s in the back of the band pass box. Tell you what, bro, hear me coming a mile away.
I'm curious what the doctors have to say about this. Do you guys really believe that there are odor-proof containers that can really entrap these terpenes and flavonoids in one container and not let them seep out?
Absolutely everything.
No. Dr. Mark says no.
So it's interesting. What makes weed illegal is the presence of the THCA or THC molecule, Delta 9.
Delta 9,
right?
yeah, Delta 9.
Guess what? That has no smell whatsoever.
Exactly.
Zero smell, right? So what you're smelling has nothing to do. In fact, if the guys from Abstracts had little open containers of all their products, which again have no cannabinoids in there at all, car would smell like weed, right? Because Abstracts has figured out the flavorants that are in there, not just the terpenes and the terpenoids, but these volatile sulfur compounds that give cannabis its dank, kind of poopy or skunky smell, if you will, right? Those are sulfur compounds, which are very, very volatile. And so when that policeman opens the window, what he's smelling is a dose of these sulfur compounds, which, by the way, are legal. They're not Schedule anything, right? And so there is now legal precedence based on the sophistication of the chemistry of the cannabis plant, that they realize that the smell of cannabis does not necessarily mean that there's cannabis in there, right? So you can have basically terpene profiles from cannabis or from hemp, right? They're going to be the same, right? And those are going to be THC free. And so what? You can't roll around with terpene profiles stinking up your car,
right?
I mean, so yeah, this distinction has been made in legal court. In fact, I think my friend Patrick Nightingale, who's the head of the Pittsburgh chapter of NORML, has actually legal precedence in here, because there was a illegal search and seizure based on the smell of cannabis, which they got overruled in court. And so, yes, so there is the notion now that, again, the smell of weed doesn't necessarily mean that you have weed in it.
Wow, so this could be a way to transport cannabis illegally. Just carry a vial from abstracts, and when they say they sell something, you bring it up.
Yeah, right.
Right.
That would be,
or, put a little bit on you. Yeah. As you're breaking it down for the cop that there is no weed in the car. I just smell like weed essence.
Yeah. And you show them the vial, have them
This is not legal advice, nor do we encourage or condone this.
That way, easy there.
Hey, some of these people in the world will listen to this and they'll be like, oh, I got it figured out. This doctor was saying.
Hey, they're doctors. They're doctors.
Do you get legal advice from your doctor?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think that everyone in the world, most of our viewers are pretty smart folks, but I don't think that everybody in the world is smart enough to realize that was absolute sarcasm and hilarious.
Although
I don't know.
People take medical advice from Joe Rogan, so I don't know, man.
So, speaking of which, I have a legal question for our doctors. I'm wondering what your guys' thoughts are on this, because I think this is a super interesting argument that I would definitely try in court. So in order to test, because as we stated, Dr. Mark, THC Delta 9 is the legal compound or illegal compound in cannabis, right? And how they test for the levels of that is by gas chromatography, which is in essence you have to heat it up. So that's a form of decarbonization, because otherwise it would all just be THCA until it decarboxylates into THC Delta 9. So couldn't you argue that by those test results, they are presenting a false positive on that, because you are putting the plant through a decarboxylating process, and if you were just caught with flowers, it technically wouldn't be that.
Well, what you're explaining here is the essence of the whole THCA loophole, right? If you read beyond the Farm Bill into the Code of Federal Regulations, the DEA testing requires gas chromatography, which will decarboxylate. So high THCA cannabis will analyze for high THC cannabis, because it'll all be decarboxylated. Now, when you smoke it, right? When you smoke high THCA cannabis, you're going to decarboxylate it, which is exactly what's happening in the GC, the gas chromatography. But I don't think it was ever Congress's intention to let industrial hemp be high THCA cannabis.
I don't know if I'm by the last part, but I buy all the rest of it. I think that might have been their intention.
Yeah, all right.
I think it very well could have been.
Yeah, I mean, that is the essence of the THCA loophole, right?
When have you ever known government to make a mistake? Just saying.
All right.
Thank you all for joining us for yet another episode of High 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to the super fans getting their comments posted live. How many do we have today?
Man, we had a few. We had the C word. We had Anna Lewis. Happy anniversary, you two. And
did we read the last C word one?
Yeah, the last C word. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Yes, we did. So shout out to, thank you so much, C-Word, Anna Lewis. Happy anniversary, Elliot and Anna. Hope you guys have a fantastic weekend in Vegas. You guys definitely deserve it.
Absolutely.
And her medal.
Yes. That's right.
A big love to the rest of our live audience and online supporters, catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the headlines of chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry. Our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective and your respected opinions to the table. Our production team, Cloud Media Partners, and our sponsors keeping the lights on, AV struggles to a minimum. Anthony behind the scenes, you know what I mean? And as always, Cannabis Sativa are the reason why we show up to read these stories every single day. Thank you too. It has been Friday. The April
4/11, bro. It's information day. It's 4/11.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. What other days is it, Jason? Do you remember?
4/11. It's It's 4/11.
Yeah, the show's over. You've all been blessed. The top industry headlines. That was enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke at least until Monday. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News, America's #1 daily news show. Today we're gonna pop things out. Jenny Beth Dills, how about that, man? What you got for us today, Jenny Beth? I give these people a good little advice for the weekend.
Yeah, sure. Don't be a dick and please start smoking better weed.
There we go. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Got 2 other options.
Yeah.
Dr. Richard's out there.
Oh.